This is the ultimate and only guide you're going to need for Restoration Shaman in Phase 2 of Season of Discovery. Hello, my name is Javier, and my goal is to make World of Warcraft as easy and as accessible to you as possible. I do a lot of research and simming etc. to make sure that I get these builds out as soon as possible for you, and generally before everyone else, so that you guys can hit the ground running on day one of launch. Starting off with our stat priority, first and foremost we're going to want MP5, which is mana per 5 seconds. Mana is really important for us Resto Shamans. Secondary then it's going to be intellect and spell power or healing power. We are going to get a lot of this on the gear, and I am going to show you what gear items to get, both pre-biz and biz, so don't worry too much about that. Then we're going to want some spirit for a bit more mana, and lastly, critical strike. Going on to the talents then, we're going to put 5 points into improved healing wave, reducing the cast time of it by 0.5 seconds. The next row, 3 points into ancestral healing, increasing the target's armor by 25% when they get a critical heal from us, the healer. I'm also going to put 5 points into tidal focus, reducing the mana cost of all our spells, specifically healing, by another 5%. And then I'm going to go down to this totemic focus, put 1 point in here, specifically reducing the cost of our totems by 5%, and then also one into totemic mastery, increasing the radius of our friendly totems. I'm then going to put 5 points into restorative totems, increasing the effect of our mana spring and healing stream totems. Those two totems pretty much do what they say on the tin regarding healing and mana. 5 out of 5 also going into tidal mastery, increasing the critical effect chance of our healing spells, which is of course a big no-brainer. Putting 1 into nature's swiftness, and we can use this on a cooldown, making the next spell under 10 seconds, which is pretty much all of them, instant. So when it's like an uh-oh moment and we need to get a heal out, we can use this. The next one is a bit contentious in my own opinion. However, upon my testing, purification is definitely better than healing way. Healing Way basically makes your healing waves have a chance to make your next healing waves better, but only on the selected target you're casting them on. However, I do think this would be really good if, and it doesn't, this is me just sort of theory crafting, it would be a lot better if that buff went onto ourselves and our just next healing wave done better, but it's not. It actually goes on the target, meaning in a raid-wide situation, it isn't that good, versus 5 out of 5 into purification, which actually is just an overall flat 10% healing increase, which is massive. And sorry, my bad, we're going to put 4 points in here, not 5, because we're going to put 1 point into Mana Tide Totem. This is actually going to be a cooldown totem that gives you and your group members mana back and is absolutely fantastic for mana throughput. If you can't tell already, mana is really important. Moving on to the runes then, on the chest it's going to be Healing Rain. Really simply, it's an AoE heal you can place. On the leg rune, it's quite interesting. Shamanistic Rage is actually going to give you and your party members some mana back. However, if you don't need the mana, we can also go with Earth Shield, which is a shield you can put on specifically the tank, and that is actually going to cause any attacks against the tank with the shield on to actually heal them. And it has 3 charges, and it lasts 10 minutes, and you can keep reapplying this and keeping it up on the tank. So I'm actually going to go with this one personally. But make sure you've got both of those 2 runes, and then you can kind of change and decide yourself as you go through them. On the hand rune, it's going to be Water Shield. This is a shield we can put on ourselves. You can only have 1 elemental shield on yourself at a time. Water Shield is actually going to give us some more mana back. Who'd have guessed it? The Waste rune is an interesting one. We're going to go with Power Surge, and this is actually going to be a bit of DPS we're doing with our Flame Shock. Flame Shock is a DPS spell we put on our target, and it's a damage over time. When that does that damage, it's actually going to have a chance to make our next Chain Heal instant. And Chain Heal is another AoE heal that we can use. It's going to heal multiple targets. On the Foot rune, again, we've got 2 choices. Personally, I'm going with an Ancestral Awakening. When you critically heal with your healing wave or lesser healing wave, you summon an ancestral spirit, instantly healing the lowest percentage health party member within 40 yards for 30%, or their Spirit of the Alpha, which you can put on the tank to increase their threat generated. I'm going to go with Ancestral Healing to do more healing. One other thing regarding mana and things like that I just want to mention is that don't be afraid to down rank your healing spells. If you don't know what I mean by that, then basically when you've got your different ranks of spells in your spell book, well, you can use the lower version of those rather than the higher ones. You don't have to always use the highest version. It's not as important as you think, whereas when using the lower one, you can actually have increased throughput for your healing. I want to show you the pre-biz list before we go on to biz, and I'm not going to go through every tiny detail of this. I will be doing a separate full leveling pre-biz and biz gearing guide, but I just want to show you some of the items that you can get before you actually go into the raid of Nomagon to get that juicy best in slot. As you can see on this list here, a lot of items from tailoring are going to be fantastic. I do actually get a lot of people saying about shamans or paladins, etc., wearing cloth, and they're like, oh, shouldn't we be wearing plate, etc. In Classic, it just really doesn't always work like that. So I know if you're coming from retail, that may be a really strange concept, but I get a lot of comments mentioning this and people being quite confused. And I just want to kind of reiterate that in Classic, it's a very different world. You can also see here that there's some PvP items, especially on the rings. Phase 1's PvP items are still really good. BFD, which you should still be running while you're leveling, is also going to be fantastic. And of course, there is the boots from the extra planar, extra planar spider stick. So boots from tailoring. Did that make any sense? It's become a robot. Like boots. Yeah, these are from tailoring in phase 1 as an epic quest line. Watch my what to do first level 25 guide if you don't know how to get these. There's a whole quest guide in that video. And also from BFD, the Acolyte's Void Pearl is still really good as well. I'm going to talk a bit more about that when we go on to the biz list. Yeah, hopefully that gives you a bit more of an idea of kind of where you can get the items from and what you should be looking for pre-biz. For best in slot then, again, please do take tailoring, because in this phase we can get the Neuro-linked Arcano Filament Monocle, which increases your damage and healing done, gives you some more MP5, and when you use it, you can actually massively increase the effect of your healing spells while also reducing the actual mana cost of them by 50%, which is obviously huge. There is an epic quest line for this. However, I haven't actually seen it yet. I will be doing a guide as soon as we work out how the hell you actually do it, I promise. And if you guys do need any other help, by the way, please do consider joining my Discord. We've got a really big community. We're actually running raids, dungeons, and leveling together on the EU side of Season of Discovery, and we have a lot of US players as well. We also have a class discussion channel and things like that, where you can ask any questions, where there's no silly question, beginners, veterans, the lot. There's really a space for everyone there. And if you really want to go the extra mile and help support me, which helps support you, you can also click the join button below to join my YouTube members or join my Patreon. There's a link below for that as well, where then you can actually get access to a secret channel and open VIP one-on-one tickets with me, where I can help you set up, simulating things, setting up your UI and add-ons, or analyzing your logs. And I also do actually stream SoD on Twitch as well, so don't forget to check me out there if you want to see it all in action. So the rest of these items then, a lot of them are going to be from Nomagon. Pendant of Homecoming, you can see here, that's from Nomagon. Synthetic Mantle, Nomagon. Cape of Hemostasis, is that Nomagon? No, that is, I was thinking it's Stranglethorn Veil, and I was right. So basically you can see here, this is with 2 silver blood coins. Every 3 hours in Stranglethorn Veil, if you're not aware of how the PvP event works, at 12, 3, 6 and 9 PM, like clockwork, it's going to be a 30-minute duration where everyone can kill each other. Horde and Alliance alike. You can go against your fellow Horde players if you're Horde, and fellow Alliance players if you're Alliance, for example. And then every time you do actually get a killing blow on someone, well, an honourable kill on someone, you'll get an extra buff of like the blood buff lower thing. And you basically, once you've got loads of this buff, you can go to an altar in STV and you'll get the coins. That's what happens. Then you go to Gurubashi Arena and trade them in for these kind of rewards. So that's where you get that. The Hyperconductive Shimmer Shirt is really good for healers, and this is also from Nomagon. Don't forget to enchant it with 100 mana, by the way, because we just love mana in this video, don't we? And you can also, it's also going to give you Spirit, MP5, and do a load of more healing. This is on the chest, legs, and boots, by the way. Lev's Oil-Stained Bindings on the wrist, again increasing healing done and MP5. Gearmender's Grace here on the main hand, which is a mace. And in the offhand, we're actually going to use a shield, which is the Dielectric Safety Shield, increasing healing and MP5 as well. Really interestingly, from Twilight Lord Kelris, the Slick Fingerless Gloves are still actually best in slot this phase, increasing healing done and damage with nature spells as well. There doesn't seem to be anything new for that one. Mechmender's Sash on the belt, again, this is Mechanon. Legs and boots is the same as the set I've already mentioned on the chest, the Shimmer Shirt one. Advisor's Ring from PvP is still best in slot in phase 2. And then there's also this new ring, which is a unique equipped gear from Nomagon. We want to get the Innovation one as a healer, increasing our healing done and MP5, but also giving us some arcane and nature resistance, which will come in really handy in Nomagon. There's the Gniodine pill bottle, which is a trinket, MP5, and you can also make an ally immune to snares, etc. And you get some spirit and nature resistance on this one. Really good, again, for Nomagon, and also from Nomagon. Acolyte's Void Pearl again from phase 1 is still fantastic. This is dropping off Akame, the last boss of BFD. If you're not aware, it drops, you roll for it, you hand in the quest in Thunderbluff, or somewhere else, I guess, if you're Alliance, and then you can actually trade this in. Like, this is the healing one. If you want the DPS one, you can trade this in Booty Bay for 75 gold. So, you know, if you're switching from phase 1 to phase 2 and you're changing spec, it is quite expensive, but, you know, you've got to do what you've got to do. And then lastly, you've got the carved driftwood icon again from phase 1. That's still here. One other thing we can actually do now is get another skill book. These are going to drop from dungeon mobs like in Scarlet Monastery. And for shamans, we have the totemic projection. This doesn't take up a rune slot. You just sort of learn it once you get the book, and that's it. And basically what we can do with this is we can relocate our active totems somewhere else. This is going to help on mana and things like that. And it's just a really big quality of life improvement. If you're not sure what foods and stuff to get, these are the two I recommend. Both quite easy to get yourself, especially if you're not, you know, you don't have a lot of gold. Sagefish Delight, of course, just take Sagefish. This gives you 6 MP5. And then the Spider Sausage gives you 12 stamina and spirit for 15 minutes. You can farm these in the northwest area of Dustwallow Marsh. They're about level 36 to 38, and they drop these white spider meat on about a 30 to 40% drop rate. It's really, really common. I have tested this out for a while just to see how much I got, and it was actually really good. The recipe for this one is actually from Stormwind and Orgrimmar, just from the usual cooking trainer as well, so it's really, really easy to get. Don't be fooled at going on the auction house and spending £1 billion on it if you don't have to. Same going with the greater mana potions, because we can actually make these ourselves in alchemy and it's not all bound to getting off those awful vendors, etc. The greater mana potions this phase should be a lot cheaper. The health potions, not so much, but hopefully you won't be needing those, especially as a healer. Lesser Arcane Elixir is good. It increases your spell damage, and we are still using our Flame Shock on targets, and therefore this is still kind of going to be useful. If it's really expensive, I wouldn't bother unless you're min-maxing. And then again, there's that Sagefish Delight, which I have already shown you. Now, I have already said to take tailoring, but what other profession do we want to take? I would advise enchanting for this here, this sigil. And this is actually going to increase our healing done by 20 for 30 minutes, and it's on a 30-minute cooldown, meaning I don't think it does go through death, but still really, really good. Especially when you think that tailoring doesn't have a separate gathering one, this is going to be fantastic. Otherwise, go with maybe alchemy or something like that, where you can get the mildly rated rejuvenation potion, which is going to increase health and mana, and increase your damage done by spells. But again, as a healer, not the best. I just think you should go for enchanting and tailoring. So I just typed all this up quickly to show you how it all properly comes together. We can use things like Lesser Healing Wave, Chain Heal, and Healing Wave as our kind of standard heals. Lesser Healing Wave obviously doing less, but not being as crazy expensive, etc. So I think you kind of, with healing, it's not a simple rotation. You do need to kind of prioritize and make up your own mind and kind of just get used to the ebb and flow of your mana and how much each spell does. And again, don't forget you can down rank. Keep the earth shield up on the tank if you aren't taking it. Keep your water shield up on yourself, remember, for that mana. And then if a few people need healing, I would say rather than chain heal, if you can, always use your healing rain. And you can put this in the melee if there's a lot of them, for example, in the raid, because it's going to group up on a lot of people. Healing rain is going to be a lot better for your mana, etc. But generally, like, this is kind of it. And don't also forget to use your tremor totem, which is something that you can use to get rid of fear effects. Also, there's your mana tide and your healing stream totems as well. It's kind of just a bit about like, which healing wave do I use? Do I need AoE healing? Keeping those shields up on both yourself and the tank, and also just some totem management. And that's it, guys. You are going to smash it in phase 2 of Season of Discovery.